Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. club. And as you can see, it's a wet, old, miserable Sydney Wednesday. It's absolutely pouring and it looks like it's going to be raining all day. You can hear the rain just pelting down. So I've come here to wharf number 6 to get out of the elements. And what we'll do is we'll just do a little short walk and talk about a book summary. And today's book is entitled The Culture Code. The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. And it's a book which looks into the dynamics, the group dynamics in terms of how groups operate and some of the tricks and skills that we can take and use to try and enhance our engagement, our connection and our productivity. Because when it's all said and done, we are individuals, but we are social. We're social beings and we need to be able to interact with other people and to work with other people in order to live, to enjoy our lives, to contribute and to get by, because I guess it all gets back down to our social ability and the dynamics, understanding those dynamics and working those dynamics and leveraging those dynamics to get the most that we can. And the author talks a lot about vulnerability and trust in his book. And one of the quotes that he kicks off his book with is that vulnerability doesn't come after trust. It precedes it. Leaping into the unknown, when done alongside others, causes the solid ground of trust to materialize beneath our feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend a bit of time indulging and learning about vulnerability and trust and how one feeds the other, and to also understand that the truth is always found between two extreme positions, two opposing positions. Whenever you've got two people who take opposing positions, usually what we'll find is that truth is found somewhere in between. So this book teaches us how humans work together, and it also gives us some insight in terms of how and why they sometimes don't work together. So the first key structured point to come out of this book is that in order to build a strong team environment and team culture, you need to have a safe zone. You need to form a safe zone where everyone feels comfortable and everybody will then let their guards down and cooperate. So in order to get to that point, we need to establish initially a safe zone. And what we've found is that with COVID-19, a number of safe zones have been developed, and that safe zone is being able to work from home, remote work, which has its advantages and is seated in the technologies that we have today. I often laugh at the rubbish that I hear people espousing about Bill Gates and all the bullshit conspiracy theories. And it's gotten to the point now where if I ever hear anybody saying anything negative about Bill Gates, what I'll do is I'll just grab their mobile phone and slap them in the face with it. Because without Bill Gates, without Microsoft, a lot of the technology that we have available to us today, a lot of that enabling technology to enable us to work remotely, to be connected continuously, and all of those things wouldn't be available without the breakthroughs that Bill Gates and Microsoft made in those early years. But that technology allows many people, professional people, to be able to work from their homes, from their safe places that they know. And safety, as we learn, or as we will learn, is a great enabler. It's a great enabler, and it's the magic glue that brings people together and keeps them together and allows them to function together. So I've worked for a number of organisations over the years, some good, some average, some which were good that became average, and others which were average that became good. And what I learnt was that you don't want to be working in an environment where you're constantly looking over your back, where there's mistrust and challenges that are created through the management and the policies that the organisation comes up with. But what happens is that through each economic cycle, we have boom and bust. When times get tough, you tend to find that politics becomes rife because people start jockeying for positions, start using politics to keep their job, and you get to the point where you start fearing for your job, that your job will become redundant. And when you get to that point, it's the beginning of the end, because mistrust becomes the norm, and that people start to worry about keeping their job, and by worrying about keeping their job, the politics start to infect the environment. So the author talks about the importance, as I said, about keeping things safe and enabling people to live in their safe spot, their safe zone. And one of the key things about a safe zone is you can observe it through the body language and that occurs within a group context. The way people talk, the way that people interact, the level of comfort, the level of honesty. And the author here talks about the importance of being able to share one of your flaws or some of your flaws as a leader to enhance the ability of the group to trust each other and to work together, and ultimately to be vulnerable, because through vulnerability you get significant strengths and power. So on the topic of vulnerability, the author here says that it's important for us all to be comfortable in sharing our shortcomings, to show people that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to have weaknesses, because the group, through its strengths and weaknesses, are able to basically fill those gaps that the individuals have by some of the strengths that the others have in the group, and vice versa. But the author also talks about the vulnerability loop, because he says that something very, very amazing happens when we share our flaws with others. Not necessarily all others, but certain others. There's a thing called a vulnerability loop, where by signalling our weaknesses and our vulnerability, it entices others within the group environment to do the same, and it then allows the parties to come closer together and to become more trusting of each other, and to also understand that vulnerability, the admitting of one's weaknesses, is not necessarily a weakness. but actually a strength. I remember years ago reading a book, I think it was The Art of War, where the author, Sun Tzu, said that when you are weak, feign strength, but when you are strong, feign weakness. So if you are strong, then one of the things you may want to do to the people around you is to show your weaknesses, to feign weaknesses, or to pretend weakness, in fact. But the author here talks about being genuine and actually showing your weaknesses to the people around you. And because he says that the first to admit that they are not perfect. This is important to all the young people out there. The first in a group to admit that they're not perfect is usually the person who is perceived as the leader, because it allows for acceptance and it acknowledges that we all have weaknesses and we all make mistakes. So you may want to use that as a learning point to not worry too much about weaknesses, but to know that the first to admit their weaknesses is usually the first within a group to be perceived as the one who has the leadership qualities. And the final point to come out of this book is that you need to build a sense of purpose in a team, in a group, through shared goals and a simple way of moving towards those goals. Geez, it's pelting down, isn't it? So purpose. What is purpose? Purpose is a set of reasons for doing what you are doing, and the goal is the future, but you're living it now. So it's all about developing and building a simple narrative of how your purpose will help you go from today to tomorrow. And the author also finishes off by talking about the importance of incorporating slogans into your team environment to make it easy for people to understand what the group's all about. And I think I'll leave it there on this wet, old, miserable Wednesday, wacky Wednesday. It's a bit cold, it's wet, the rain is teeming down. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. Thank you very much for joining me and allowing me to take you through the Culture Code by Daniel Coyle, where we learnt a few things, a few hacks, a few group hacks in terms of how groups operate and how it's important to be vulnerable, and through vulnerability we build trust. And at the end of the day, trust is the sweet spot which gets us from where we are today to where we want to be. And to all my friends and family, stay connected, stay reasonable, stay relevant. And most importantly, let's learn to be vulnerable in a team environment. Let's learn to trust each other. Let's learn to create a safety zone so that we can all express ourselves freely to grow, develop and achieve our team goals. And I guess that's about it. So let's try and use some of this stuff to get us through the morning, get us through the day, to empower us, to empower those around us in order to help them live, learn and pass it on. And I look forward to coming to you again later this morning from another safe zone, from another dry place where we can learn a few more things and use it as the wind beneath our wings to help us grow, develop and become the person that we're destined to be. Take care. If you like it from Jim's 5am Club, que tal? We'll chat again shortly. Bye for now.